So, hey guys, welcome to the Meshery development call. We are 3 minutes after, so I guess we can get started. So, since we don't have any newcomers on the call, let's get started right off with the agenda. Ashish, would you like to please take us forward?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my I have my task is to demo this. I've added this import feature in patterns. So patterns are evaluated in stages. So there are various stages in patterns. I have added one more stage onto those, which gives it the capability to use external patterns. So for example, right now we don't have this capability that I'm showing right now. So the types can be that this is currently not a valid type, but my PR, what it does is basically there is what the first stage does is it goes into each of these services, and if there is an external pattern file attached to any other service, it goes to this particular service, and it takes all these services from this pattern file and then expands that to here. So and it does it recursively, so you can have patterns inside of patterns inside of patterns inside of patterns. So basically it gives us a lot of composability. For example, right now here you can see a pattern of 21 line, and when it gets expanded after the import stage, it's around this is the expanded pattern, which is around how much, 294 lines. So it'll allow us to get away from huge and large patterns, and we don't have to scroll that much. The idea is that you can any pattern is an exportable pattern, but a good basically, if you want to make it externally configurable, you'll have to supply this vars field, and these are the default values for these variables, and these variables can be set by the calling pattern. So for example, I'm calling this istio4.yaml, and if I go into istio4.yaml, if I go into istio4.yaml, then it exports these fields. So you can configure control plane namespace, your data plane namespace, your istio version and profile. So recently I've also added way to, because istio supports three profiles: demo, and then there is default and minimal. So depending upon you want the ingress gateway or egress gateway or just the control plane. So yeah, so for example, in this particular pattern, what I'm doing is I'm asking it to go and fetch this istio installation pattern, expand it here with these configuration. So the control plane namespace and sidecar namespace, istio version, everything would be configured inside of this externalized pattern, and then I'm asking it to wait for this istio installation. After that is done, install my add-ons. So by this we can have add-ons in another pattern file. So this is another pattern file which has Grafana and Prometheus add-ons. I haven't made it a lot of configurable because it was only for demo purposes. We can have um, basically we can have a lot more configurable fields. Right now I've only made the control plane namespace as a configurable field, so that I have set here as istio system. And the after the services are deployed, I also want my book info app to be deployed. So instead of rewriting the entire book info app here, I've just what I've did is I've just referenced this other book info app, and this book info app externalizes, basically exports this namespace field, so you don't hard code it. And in this case I'm saying install my book info app in the default namespace and do it after my istio installation is complete. So basically in a 21 line pattern file, I'm describing it to install my service mesh with proper configuration, install the add-ons, and then install my book info app. So time to demo. So this is my current running pods. As you can see, there is no book info or anything. And if I go into my istio installation, so the idea is that each pattern file that we import from somewhere else should be complete in itself, so that when we will, I'll talk about it after I deploy it, so that while it's deploying I can talk about it. So for example, here I'm also enabling automatic sidecar injection in the sidecar namespace, which we have set as default. So when I'll deploy this pattern, each of the pod in the book info app will have the envoy proxy by default. So if I do pattern apply, okay, and if I go over here and if I wait few seconds, okay. So yeah, while that is taking place, so the idea is that we can have a service mesh catalog, and inside of the service mesh catalog we can have a lot of pattern files which act like an atomic unit in themselves. So a complete pattern file where we can specify first a prerequisite for this pattern file. For example, if I go over the book info pattern file, you can see that it has it has things like virtual service and destination rules. So if we basically take this pattern file and we put it in the catalog, we'll say that okay, you need a service mesh installation, because there are things like virtual service and destination rules here. And so first requirements, and then the other thing, namespace, everything that you can configure in this pattern file. In this case it's just namespace, we can add more things here. And you want these to installation, well, we have another pattern file which does just that, and these are the variables that you can configure. So basically, user can go to the catalog, add a bunch of just keep copying the links, add a bunch of stuff, and on a 20-line pattern file. If I go over, yeah, so as you can see, my istio system, in my istio system namespace, I did a minimal installation, as you can see in the configuration. So that, yeah, the minimal installation, only the control plane is installed. So only my istio is installed. Other than that, my add-ons are running, and in the default namespace, my book info app is installed with my Envoy proxies. So yeah, that's the extra thing that I've added. These are just the logs from the pattern apply command. uh, yeah, let me delete those. So yeah, that was the demo from my side. If anyone has any questions regarding anything here, or you can ask. Basically, the advantage, one of the advantages is that we are trying to get to a stage where we have what we call higher order components. So basically, for example, you can have a circuit breaker component, and that is agnostic of the service mesh. So you can have so you just describe the configuration of your circuit breaker, you can apply it onto any of the service mesh, and internally we would handle it. But by the time we get there, what we can do right now is we can have our own circuit breaker patterns for each of the service meshes. We can have one for traffic, one for linkerd, one for istio, and everything. And we can export these variables, and all users have to do is just take this, but take for example, in that case, it would be something like you know uh, the URL of that particular URL of circuit breaker istio, and then will and there would be a uniformity in that in each of these circuit breaker patterns, like circuit breaker istio, circuit breaker linkerd, circuit breaker, different circuit breaker patterns will have the same exported field, so that to user, they don't have to care about what internally that pattern file is doing. They can just configure that using these arguments. So it's like calling a function with an argument, and that definition of the function is the pattern file itself. So yep, that was that's kind of the whole summary of it. Anyone has any questions about it?
Guys, any questions or feedback? Okay, I guess not then. Thank you, Ashish. That was a great demo. So moving on to the next topic, Aditya, with your compatibility matrix, would you like to
Yeah.
share your screen?
Yes, I'll share my screen. So yeah, so as suggested in the last website meeting, we are to be right now we are showing both Edge and the latest Edge version as well as the latest release. So how I made this work is like, if there is a latest release, then the release, the Edge version just prior to the release, then that will be the one which will be shown in the first home page. And I've implemented a filter kind of thing which Lee suggested. I don't know if there's feedback open, if there's a desired change or not. So if we go and see past results, we can filter according to edge test or stable test. Like we select edge test, we'll only get edge test, and if we select stable test, we'll just get the stable test uh, of the selected adapter. So yeah, that were the changes I made from the last call. So yeah.
So one thing that I would like to add is maybe not have an empty table when they land on this page.
Okay.
We can go ahead with the filters, but like the empty state should be all the results, like edge and stable together, and then we can filter from there.
Okay, so when user clicks the past results button, just display all the results.
Yeah. Instead of having none, let's have all, and then filter is a good choice, but that's probably not the right placement for that.
Yeah. Just I wanted this for demo purpose. So like,
Okay.
do we want a checkbox, or like can you suggest where should this be?
I think so we can only select one at a time, right?
Yeah, it's we can select. No, we can select both. Yeah, we can select
Oh,
both,
okay,
and
and this show both.
yeah, it shows both.
Uh, so if we have an empty state of all the test results, so probably a radio button would be a better choice, that we can only select one at a time. That would
Okay.
be a filter, right?
Okay, so if we are showing the past results of initial state as all of them, then having a radio button will be, yeah, it will.
Yeah.
All right.
Anybody else? Any feedback in the comments?
Yeah, in terms of placement of the checkbox or the radio button, you can have it at the right most side. Yep, over
Yeah.
here. Yep. Both
Yeah.
of them.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That was what. Yeah. So now, all right. So if that's the thing, now the only thing that's remaining is the breadcrumb issue. Like, if anyone has, like, I have not looked it into too deeply, but I'm not able to figure out what the problem is or how to set this breadcrumbs. If anyone has any feedback or like help, I need help in this thing. Like, I'm not able to figure out how these breadcrumbs work and how they redirect. Like, what I want is that when someone clicks a past results, we should have a field here like slash and ht or past results kind of thing, but that is not working.
Yeah.
So the breadcrumbs come from the URL. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
it's still echoing.
I'll probably let Gaurav.
Yeah, sure. So you were saying the functionality of for the breadcrumbs. So the best example would be the pattern configurator that we are using. So it also has the breadcrumbs, and the functionality you are looking to implement over here is like already implemented there. So you can refer to that similar one.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Like
I'll look into
Aditya,
that.
you were also saying you can add.
Yeah. So basically, the breadcrumbs come from the URL. So you created a folder called istio, and then that has the uh, test results, right?
Yeah, though, yeah, under that
Meshery
compile.
istio. Yeah. So that's why it's in. You see the
No, I have not.
URL. So
This is the, yeah, this is the URL, maybe, yeah, I've
yeah, it
stated
comes
the.
from the base URL.
Okay.
You could take a look. There's a includes called breadcrumbs.html that has the logic in it. You can take a look there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll look into that.
And Ashish, does that sound fine to have the last edge and the latest results noted down?
Yeah.
All right, and I think the linkered like 5.20 has not been uploaded to the docs. Like, the test was failing for linkered 5.20. That's only thing.
How much older this version is? When was the test ran? It was 34. I think we would need to get rid of few older test results, because, for example, in Linkerd things were failing before, and those are wrong results, or stale. You cannot call them stale. They're basically false alarms. So a lot of these red things are just false alarms, and they were failing because of some other issue, and not because Meshery was not able to support the installation. So we'll need to. You can ping me later. I'll tell you which of these to delete.
Okay, sure. All right, that's it then.
All right, thank you, Aditya. Moving on, Piyush, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Okay, where exactly I am. Okay, nice. Let's start with Meshery. So right now I want to see my status of Meshery components. Guess what? It is saying that Meshery is not running. But if I see with kubectl, there are some pods running, and I can't see the status. Similarly, if I like to stop them, it says Meshery is not running, but I want to get rid of these pods. How do I do it? So that is the issue that we are talking about right now. Meshery should be smart enough to know that there are some deployments. Even though Meshery is not running here, I can't see Meshery here, and there are other adapters, and Meshery broker is here. So it should be smart enough to know that these are the deployments running, and they need to shut off. Okay, so what I made the changes is now let me. Okay, so previously it was like this was being done with like IsMesheryRunning. We were trying to check if there is a pod that is known as Meshery. Is it running? Is it active or not? And then we were executing these uh, commands like stop and status or login, all those commands. But these should be what these should be actually checking is if there are any Meshery components running. So that's what it has like changed. So right now, if I'll let me go to that, make demonstrate it right now. Okay, it is taking time. Yeah, I'm in the right branch. I'm not sure why it is taking time right now. Okay, yeah, nice. So if I run system status, so even though Meshery is not running, I can see the status of other pods, other deployments. And similarly, if I want to stop these deployments, I want to clean up my cluster, I'll just say that stop it. So it will uninstall these running deployments. It was an issue faced by a lot of people when like the age of these clusters are like a very high, and the deployment like the pod is not running and not active now. So it will solve that problem. And also there was one more problem that has been like faced by a lot of people, that is like whenever someone is trying to install it, they face issues like some errors like this. Cannot start Meshery, there are something already existing, unable to continue installation. Right now Meshery is like implementing a Helm based installation. Sometimes it doesn't work because because of irregularities when someone is like if someone ran system stop, but it didn't clean up cluster very well, like it left some resources there, and next time if someone will try to install it, then it will cause errors like that can't install it because something is already existing. So to like clean up that, a new flag has been introduced. Let me show. System stop -h. It's called --force. So uninstall Meshery resources forcefully. What it will do right now, meeting okay, sorry, my bad. Some family thing. Okay, so right now what will happen is with the flag force dash dash force, what it will do is right now it will grab all the deployments. It will uninstall all these deployments. It will get the services. It will uninstall all the services. It will get the replica sets. It will delete them. It will get the stateful sets. It will delete all of them. The cluster role bindings, cluster role interface, cluster roles. Every resource that has Meshery in it will get cleaned up forcefully via this flag. Okay, I'm really sorry for that noise. Someone came behind me. Okay, so if you have any doubts and if I fail to explain what I'm like I have introduced with the flag, so let me know.
So, Piyush, one question. So, the order in which we delete the resources is fine, right? Like if there are dependencies, so the ones without any dependencies should be deleted first, and like for example, deployments and services, right? Like the ordering in which they get deleted should be fine, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, and it is okay. I have tested it. Like if I start Meshery again and then uninstall it with forcefully the force flag, and then restart Meshery again, it will work completely fine because there will be no existing resources there, and like the both implementation, the both installation and uninstallation process, the Helm one, the Helm based installation, and the forcefully uninstalled the process, they don't collide with each other. So it will be like they're isolated, like they are implementing similar, but they're different implementations of uninstalling and installing.
No, my concern is like when you're trying to delete, let's say, deployment, and it shouldn't fail, right? In this code, the delete should not fail for saying that it is being this particular deployment is part of another Kubernetes resource which is active kind of thing. So that was my question.
Okay, yeah. So I'm only deleting all those, like every resource of Meshery ecosystem has the word Meshery in it. So these deployments will only get deleted if they are from Meshery namespace. Whatever the namespace is, the guy like the user is using that namespace, and if it has the Meshery keyword like the name in it, only then it will be deleted.
Okay, sure.
And it is for the like only for those cases when like user is having hard times because of those problems, like already existing thing, or if Helm is failing to update the images inside the deployments. Like that also happened very recently when some big changes were introduced. It wasn't working well. So in those cases, this flag will come in handy.
Okay, sure.
Anyone else, any feedback or comments on this? All right. Thanks, Piyush. Thanks, Asena. So moving on, Gaurav,
Yeah,
let's discuss your PR on the configurator.
sure. I'm sharing my screen. Yep. So this PR consists of two issues. One is for having integer type as of num for the text field that we have, and converting the additional properties to the properties that we were using for the basic RJSF, and moving to the basic custom component that we are using over RJSF. So let's demo that thing. So previously what I did was I directly imposed the condition of maximum and minimum range to the UI custom component that we were using. So what issue it was raising, that it was changing all the text field that was having a type as string, array, or number and integer, but we only want the range to be maximum and minimum for the type as for number and integer. So I added the type configuration in the schema so that it won't affect all others properties. So when we type something over here, so it will say to the user that it should be a number, and the range is set to for 0 to 100 for replicas only. So if I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it will indicate the user that it should be less than or equal to 100. So it is not affecting these kind of properties and all strings. So next update, next issue covering in this PR is about having labels and annotations as additional properties. So previously it was displaying as a field of object, and was not using the custom component that we have created for the RJSF menu. So now it is using with proper additional properties, placeholder and items over here. So it is also not affecting the containers and other environmental ports and commands for the schema. Yeah. So that was a quick update for the PR, and it's good to go after a review. Yep. Any comments and anything?
So does this take care of all the additional properties fields, or do they remain as like the new key thing from before?
No, it takes care for the Meshery, this one addition properties thing. So
Okay.
yep, it should. This is the basic one that we are using for the whole RJSF schema component that is rendered in the pattern configurator. So it should take care of rest of the two. Yeah.
Okay. So in this, you have changed the properties in the schema, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to do it for other components, then
Yeah, the
changing it in the
schema.
schema won't that be difficult?
No, the schema, the RJSF provides this functionality very precisely to do this. Yeah. Because previously when I was changing this property directly in the UI, so it was changing all others field to this thing. So we were not able to add any numbers inside a field of array or anything else. So yep, adding it to the schema is the only solution that we can use.
So that's what I'm saying. So for other components, you would also have to add it in the schema, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, eventually we will be making each and every component as a separate custom component, so we can like have set of properties and display it accordingly. So yeah, it can be tackled in as a separate issue.
Okay. Anybody else, any feedback or comments on this?
If not, over to you, Aditya.
All right. Yep. Thanks, Gaurav, for sharing. So moving on, we have the GitHub action PR from Harsh. Harsh, would you like to share your screen?
Sure. Give me a second.
All
right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Right. So I raised a PR for Meshery pattern apply. We needed to have an action in order to test that, and maybe just an action if someone wants to test their own independent action, so they can just spin this workflow, and this would give them an insight as to like in a dummy environment as to how it's going. Right. So so here the thing is that this particular repository, right, this service mesh patterns, so this actually the action in it actually refers to a different sorry, I'm just wanted to so this actually refers to I'll show it to you. So this actually refers to this particular so this entire repository in itself is an action, right? So this action.yaml is what this looks for, and accordingly it's a little complex action,
But otherwise it's simply that action calls main.js. Main.js spins up a child process which runs main.sh, right? Main.sh does all your setup tasks. Then Meshery.sh does all the setting up of Kubernetes and setting up of Meshery and all those tasks. I'll show this one to you. Right, you can see it's manipulating some, like just minifying and flattening the kubectl config, and then installing and running Meshery, right? And then finally, Mesheryctl.sh, this has the commands that we finally run, right? So this was something that was sort of partially done by a contributor before me. However, this entire flow was breaking, and in this particular repository, I'll show this one to you as well. In this particular repository, so in GitHub workflows, pattern action, this is the one that we're concerned with. This actually did not correspond to what is actually given over there. If I take you back there, and I'll show you the action.yaml, you see that this actually requires a provider token, a platform input, a pattern URL input. But when you see this actually is only providing your platform provider token. So this is sort of a previous version, which was the reason why there was a sort of a compatibility conflict, and this workflow is breaking. So right now, if I can take you to the action itself, where is the action? Yeah, so here is the action. So right now, this is in a working state. However, as one extra step, what we're trying to do is we're trying to, instead of sort of manipulating kubeconfig, that was something that I showed it to you previously, right? So what this one is doing, it just takes, the existing or sort of a default kubeconfig, and it sort of minify flattens, and then this moves it back to the path, the required path. So instead of that, what we wanted to, and what Lee suggested, that you take this kubeconfig as an input itself, right? The way you're doing. So I'll if I can show it to you in actions, just apply the mesh. So branch, right? So you can see these are the four things. So there's this name of the pattern file relative. So there's the way you can do this as well. So similarly, we wanted to give the person who's running this workflow an option of putting their own kubeconfig in this, and we are not playing around with dummy configs ourselves. So this is also a question or like to all of you, if somebody knows what if there's some way of doing that, because generally these kube configs contain these sort of secrets and then path to some certificates, etc., which are local to your own machine. So let's say in my own machine, so the path to certificate would be, let's say, user / my name, my username hirsch.dhillo, then / somewhere and certificate, right? So I want to avoid adding those secrets and taking those secrets from the VM that is running this itself, and while also adding the user specified kube config. So if anyone has any ideas, so they can let me know. Yeah, so this was more or less it about this particular issue and what I had done. Right, so if anyone has an answer to that question, or if anyone needs a clarity, or if I should repeat my question again, you can just let me know. I'll be glad to do that. This is more or less it from my side.
Guys, any feedback, any comments?
So if any one of you has been working around any CIs or such, so if you are somewhere in any because I did not see this happening anywhere, but if there is a particular workflow where you're supplying the kube config as a parameter, let's say path to the file or a URL or something like that, So if you know something of that sort, do let me know, because that will come in handy here. Sure. I'll reach out to someone on Slack if anyone has the answer, or is interested to know about the problem, or help me out. You could just hit me up anytime. that shouldn't be a problem.
Does
Sure.
anyone
Back
some
to you,
comments?
Aditya.
Thank you, Harsh. That was a great demo. So I missed Aditya. Sorry, Aditya. Aditya, would you like to share your design updates?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a sec.
Yep.
Let me just connect to my. Okay, we have everything. Okay, cool. So okay, that's not the screen. It's sorry. So yeah, I worked on a couple of design improvements specifically related to the sidebar. And we are actually yet to receive an ACK from Lee regarding the same. So once we receive the ACK from him, we will be able to implement the similar sidebar in our application. So in our current version of the sidebar, the UI is not very good, and even if you take in consideration the user perspective along with user experience, it does not follow the right UI principles. When wait, let me just edit that one go. So this is how it looks as of now, and the proposed changes look something of this sort. So wait, let me. Yeah, so this is how. Okay, sorry. Yep. So this is how the proposed one looks like. So for example, if anyone hovers on it, it will kind of highlight in the Meshery green. It's kind of like a overlay on the box, which is box or the specific text. So all of this will have that specific overlay. And for the main headings, it will have a small icon when it's hovered. I'm not sure if you can notice. So there's this small icon which comes on the right side. If I hover on the menu headings. So this is how the proposed changes to the sidebar looks like. And yeah, it keeps in mind the UI UX principles as well. As we are using a darker background, the overlay or the highlight which comes on top should be a lighter one. And it should be of a color which contrasts to the background as well. So if you consider the collapsed sidebar, it kind of looks like this on hover. And again, the main menu headings have this small arrows. I just noticed the small issue. It shouldn't show the gray background for that. And then, yeah, all of these icons on hover, I guess it's already there currently. It changes to a darker white color. And yeah, okay. So this is how the notification center looks like. Okay, and then we have all the notification categories or severities like error. This is how the error part looks like, and this is for warning, and this is for success. And again, if I go back to error, sorry, all part, it will kind of look like this. And if I go ahead and click this one, all of them will go, and I can just collapse this back again. So yeah, this is the short update from my end. If you have any doubts or if you have any suggestions, I'm open to them.
This looks great. So one thing though, could you collapse it once?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So here, like having the chevron beside the icon, don't you think that provides a lot of space?
Do you think here on the right side, next to
Not
the
these, the small icon, the small chevron beside all the icons, like the
okay, is it
yeah
the blue
these.
light one? Okay. I
Mhm.
don't think, because one thing is, if you are going to implement like a collapsed state, people should know that
Mhm.
menu is has sub options.
Yeah, but so right now what happens is the icon itself changes into a bottom chevron. Wouldn't that look better here as well?
Yeah, I think bottom chevron, like when we click on it, it will change it to. I didn't get you.
So right now in the navigator, if you see, if you hover on
Huh?
an item which is, which is droppable,
Yeah,
the icon itself changes into a chevron.
yeah. This small one. Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's in the current
And
implementation, is it, or?
yeah. Like it's not beside it. It
Huh?
like the icon itself becomes the chevron.
Okay, but another thing. So I didn't get a chance to look at the current implementation of the UI. So another question: if this changes to chevron, how can you differentiate between this chevron and this chevron? Like, is there any
No.
icons?
That happens on hover, like only on hover.
Okay, yeah, I think chevron wouldn't be the right way to do it, because if it is in a collapsed state, and if someone wants to share a screenshot of it, I think this would give a better perspective of the what the sub menu or sub the main menu has to offer. So if you just consider it as a chevron, the chevron doesn't stand for anything other than it just shows that there's a drop down menu, or it has a sub menu. IMO, I guess this would be a better option. But yeah, there's one small issue regarding that background thing, which I will change it today itself.
Sounds good. Okay. Anyone else? Any feedback regarding this?
What happens when you click on the question mark icon? Like that is supposed to expand, right?
Yeah, I haven't currently implemented that one. So it kind of okay. I guess wait. Let me just design language. Is it in design language? Yep, it is in design language. Okay. Where is the flow? Where can I start the flow? Okay. Yep. So when you click on that one, it will kind of pop out like this. And again, it has all the hover states and all. And if you click it back, it will go back down. So yeah, this the.
Yeah, and I was asking because right now the chevron you have used is, I think, is going to cover the icon. It's a little bigger than the one we had currently.
This one, right?
The one you were showing in the demo.
This is it? This one?
Yeah.
No, it will kind of okay. I didn't think in that perspective, but if it overlays, or if it comes behind it, probably we can add a state management for that. Something like if you click on this, it will go to the outside part, and if it's not clicked, or if it's not if the state is not set to open, it will just be here itself.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So yeah, that's the update from my end.
All right. Thanks, Aditya. That was great. All right. Moving on, Ruturaj, would you like to speak to your topic?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll share my screen.
Yep. Please go ahead.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this was the issue. The issue was that Meshery would uh, it would just issue when you gave it the stop operation, it would just issue a delete instruction to the Kubernetes client and it would exit. Now the problem with that is when you issue a restart operation, it issues that delete operation and then attempts to start back, which then so it errors out because the pods are still in the terminating state. So what the goal was to wait until the delete actually happens on the namespace on the Kubernetes side. So what I've done here is, yeah. So this is yeah. So what I've done here is just use this a similar logic that we use for starting, like when you issue the system start instruction, it issues like it creates the pods on the Kubernetes side and then polls the Kubernetes client asking it if the pods are up. So this is what we do. This is what I've done when it stops. When you stop the deployment, it polls the Kubernetes client asking if the namespace has been removed. So this is what it does. So now so right now it's running. Meshery is running on my system. So if I just say Meshery CTL. CTL system restart. Uh, it will it will stop. Not only it will the CTL would give the Kubernetes client an instruction to delete the namespace. It will also wait until the namespace is deleted. So yeah, this takes a little while. Also if so it has a timeout of 300 seconds. So if it doesn't, if the namespace is not deleted within 300 seconds, then it will just print a message saying that it's not stopped yet. You can check the status. Yeah, as you can see there, it stopped. It waited until it stopped and then now it's starting again. So yeah, usually if without this patch, what would happen is after it displays Meshery has stopped, it will attempt to start it and then it would fail. It would fail saying that one of the components is in terminating state and it cannot start. Yeah, it's deployed. So as I was saying, it has a timeout of 300 seconds. If it doesn't stop within 300 seconds, it will just print a message and yeah, it will tell you to check the status manually. So that's it from my side.
Guys, any feedback or comments? So if the timeout occurs, it like it stops the process right there, right? And you would have to run it again.
If the timeout occurs, it will actually continue in the same flow as it used to earlier. It'll still go through with the start instruction. So far, I've made it so that it still goes through with the restart is made up of stop and a start, right? So if the timeout occurs in that restart process while stopping, if the timeout occurs, it still goes on with the start process, but the start process fails. But yeah, the stop process logs a message saying that it didn't stop in time.
So we should probably handle that better, right? Like we don't want it to fail. So if we restart after, if it hits the 300 second limit, uh, shouldn't we probably stop it from starting again? Because if it's going to
Yeah,
fail on
yeah, I think
starting,
that's
we should probably stop it right there, right?
yeah. I think that's a good idea. We can stop it from going with the restart.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that would be a better option. If we reach the 300 seconds, we should stop the command, like kill the command there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Anyone else? Any feedback or comments on this? All right. I guess not. Thanks, Rituraj, for demoing.
yeah,
It
thank
was
you.
good. Okay. So we have a couple of call for volunteers. So as some of you know, we've been working on a service mesh catalog. So basically, the catalog would consist of all service mesh patterns and filters. And I think even Ashish had brought it up when he was demoing that it would have the pattern files that you would be able to download later on. Yeah. So this is how the catalog looks at the moment. So since this catalog would include WebAssembly filters as well, having two paragraphs just explaining what patterns are is not really a great design for the top of the catalog. So there's a call for volunteers to design the top portion of the catalog. There's an open issue on Meshery.io for that, and yeah, I think yeah. So there's an open need for designing the top part of the catalog. Another open need is to design the patterns itself. Right now, we only have three patterns, and the rest are just that's why we have them under this coming soon overlay because we don't have enough patterns to put on these cards. So there's an open need for someone to understand how these patterns work and to design them. So if any of you are interested in doing that, interested in working on Figma or UX, eh, as you can see, it's written here. See like Lee Calcott if interested. So yeah, and since we have 5 minutes left, I'll talk about the refactoring of Meshery UI yet again. So we are currently in between of refactoring Meshery UI for the V0.70 roadmap. It's a complete overhaul of the Meshery UI in which we are incorporating Redux as state management. As you can see here, we have a branch in which this effort is going on. So it's called the Meshery UI restructuring branch. Here, if you go to the contributing MD, you'd be able to see the contributing guide on how to set up your environment to be able to run this server and be able to uh, contribute to this branch. There's the proposal on state management by using Redux. You guys can go through this if you guys have questions about why we are using Redux instead of any other tool. And there's also an implementation tracker. So this Google Sheet basically has all the reusable components written down over here. uh, m- we have tried to cover a lot most of the components, but there is a high chance that we have missed a couple. So if you find something that is something that is a reusable component and is not listed down here, you guys could write that component down, put your name against it, and start working on them. And what else? Yeah, so that's about it from the restructuring. So if anybody else doesn't have anything to add, I guess we can call it a day today. Anybody, if anyone has any questions they want to ask, you guys can go ahead. Okay, 3 second limit. Nobody has any questions. So thank you guys for joining. I'll see you guys next week at the same time, and on Friday as well. We have a community call coming up, so please join that one as well. So thank you guys for joining. Bye bye. Good night. Good morning.
Bye
Bye
bye.
guys.
Bye.